He's not a new face in Kenyan politics and also in matters law. James Orengo, the new Siaya County Governor-elect. He was first of all elected in the Senate or to the Senate in 2013 and was re-elected in the 2017. He was declared Governor-elect after garnering 220,349 votes, defeating his main contestant Nicholas Gumbo, who got just slightly over 147,000 votes. He is also enjoined. He's one of the legal minds when it comes to the Azimio One Kenya petition that was filed at the Apex Court on Monday. And as you can see, this is exactly how they polled. Siasa having slightly over 500,000 registered voters. Others garnered just slightly over 5,000 votes, of course, as ODM stronghold. Well, also not a new face in Kenyan politics and also other Senate. He was elected as governor. In Bungoma County. He's the first governor and was, of course, in 2017. He was in the political cold, but for only a few weeks, because after that he was elected as the Senate Speaker, garnering 241,000 votes, 695 against Wycliffe Wangamati, who was the incumbent at 137,378. And you can see from the colors, the DAP Kenya, a new entrant in the political sphere, but it has caused some jitters and some political wins in that county. Let's go to Makueni County. After Kivuda Kibwana has completed his 2 terms from the Senate, we have Mutula Kilonzo Jr., who won the senatorial seat in 2013 by-election following his death. Lawyer, politician Mutula Kilonzo. And in this year's election, he was actually one of the governors who scooped a lot of votes, having 214,000 votes. His closest contestant had 63,000, who was Patrick Musimba. We have now a new governor-elect, a county that not only Kenya is looking at, but East Africa and the world. That is the great county of Nairobi. Wow. This is the 4th Nairobi governor, Johnson Sakaja. He was elected in the year 2022, garnering 699,392 votes, beating his closest contestant, Polycarp Igade, who managed slightly over 570,000 votes. Remember, Sakaja has been first entrant into the National Assembly when he was with the TNA, where he was the chairman, only to take the Nairobi Senate seat in the year 2017 on a Jubilee ticket. Was hotly contested, but Nairobi has a new governor, Johnson Sakaja. Now, this is just be forming part of what we'll be discussing, and I will be headed back to that wall again, where we'll be looking at other governors, incumbents. Also, we have new entrants. And for the first time ever in Kenya, we now have 7 women governors in Nakuru County, attracting a lot of interest. We will be talking about that as well. I will be joined by also another governance expert, and we are also expecting somebody who has been keeping a keen eye on how county leadership has been. Yes, of course, the 47 counties have a lot to do after 2017, after 2013. You know, with the new constitutional dispensation, we now fortifying devolution. That will be forming part of our discussion today. And allow me to introduce one of my panelists this morning. He is an engineer by profession, and Engineer Wadhimba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Crispus Wadhimba, who is also a governance and leadership expert as well. Well, so far so good.
Thank you so much for having me.
And it's a good thing, because you were seeking the Senate seat and we were looking at the senators there in Nakuru County.
Yes.
And Nakuru County has attracted a lot of interest from a lot of people because of the women leadership, something that we have never seen in the country. And Nakuru County decided that we are going to put our women in leadership pedestal that no county will ever match. Of course, maybe 2027. Your sentiments?
Well, I said here previously is that there are some things we cannot cure with the legislation. There are certain things, for example, the issue of affirmative action may not be cured by putting laws in place, but the only way we can cure them is by changing the mindset of the people. So I believe Nakuru has set the pace in terms of showing that we can trust women with not just one position, but many positions across the board. There are over 13 senior positions, which is governor, senator, women rep, and around 11 sub-counties, which are 11 MPs. So we are looking at 14 key positions, which are now occupied by women. So half of them is women. And I believe Nakuru has demonstrated that it has the courage to bring on board women and give them the powers to govern the county, the powers to check the county, the powers to affirm the position of women in terms of the member of National Assembly. And we hope this will have a trickle-down effect in terms of how we perceive governance within the county, because even in the private sector, you find there are some businesses where certain positions are reserved for women because they demonstrate trust. They demonstrate the willingness to make sure that if you give a woman resources, you give the community. That's what they say. Ukipatia mama umepatia boma yote. But sometimes if you give men, some of it doesn't come back home. It goes to other places. So I think the women have an opportunity right now to be able to affirm that it is okay. It's courageous for any community, any constituency, any county, anywhere to trust with women in terms of power and resources. So I believe we have an opportunity to be able also to give them chance and work with them together.
Engineer, looking at the 2022 succession politics, a lot has been focused on the presidential and other seats. That is the women member of the women rep, and of course the Senate, the MPs. But now focus is shifting to the counties. After the swearing in, we will be looking for, because we're having a governor and a deputy, we'll be looking for the third in line or the third in command,
which is the county speaker.
The county speaker. That is also something that is going to attract a lot of traction, and that will be the first entry for the new county governments.
Personally, I've expressed my interest. I'm running for Speaker, Nakuru County Assembly. And I know we have several other people who have expressed their interest. And I believe for us now, Nakuru, this is an opportunity for the men to not only be given the chance, but to also be able to demonstrate that they have the agenda at heart for the members of the County Assembly. Because here you're not just selling your manifesto to the people of Nakuru County or any county for that matter. You are selling your agenda to the member of the County Assembly, who is going to be the one voting for you, who is going to decide if you are the right person to hold that office for them. And the county speaker is a very important office, given that if the governor is not in place or the deputy governor is not in place, this is the one person who is supposed to step in terms of providing leadership in the county. So therefore the choices that the county assembly members will make is a very important choice, and it has to be somebody who is as equal as the other two offices above that. There's somebody who has the right qualifications, he has the right temperament, he has the right competence, he has the right emotional intelligence required to serve that office, he has the right understanding of what is required to perform that work, and is somebody who is ready to work with the members of the county assembly and also be their representative in terms of engagement with the executive and other stakeholders within the county. And importantly, somebody who needs to really put the interests of the county assembly members first, because those are his or her first employers. These are the people who have given him the work, and therefore he should be able to be someone who is ready to serve them, who is committed to support them, and who is ready to make sure that the interests of those members of county assembly are taken care of, and not those of the executive.
Yes, indeed. And because Kenyans will be seeking a lot of services from the counties, and they will feel much impact from county governments as opposed to the national government, we will now be having, at the Council of Governors, we'll be having 30 new entrants or 30 new governors in the council.
Yes.
How is the mandate of the Council of Governors expected to pan out?
Well, the exciting part of this Council of Governors right now will also have people who have served in the Senate joining the Council of Governors. And therefore, I expect the discussions within the Council of Governors to be well informed in the fact that most of these senators have served in the Senate, have been able to pass laws that are supposed to help the governors in terms of the execution of their mandate, and therefore they'll come with that institutional knowledge that they have cultivated while in the Senate to be able to enrich the conversation within the Council of Governors. Remember, we have had 10 years of devolved governments. And one thing that has been very consistent is that most of the governors are always asking for money. They never discuss issues about own source revenues, accountability for own source revenues. They've never discussed about revenue generation. What are the alternative ways of raising money to support the counties? Yet, a lot of these senators who are coming and becoming governors, they already know where the opportunities are. And therefore, I see a change of direction on how the two governments, the national government and the county governments, will engage in not only just saying we want a share of the national cake, but they'll also come with the alternative ways of allowing the county governments to raise funds and be able to deliver the services on time. Because the challenges we are having is that we have a budget which is set out every year, but a lot of those resources come very late. So if medicine comes 2-3 months late, the person who is supposed to benefit from that medicine is already dead. If water comes, if a water project comes half complete, it does not help the community. And therefore, we need a set of, we need a change of mindset within the Council of Governors where they can find alternative ways of raising money, and that money can be guaranteed, for example, by the national government, or they can find alternative ways of raising resources to deliver on the promise other than just waiting for the national government to provide them. And there are many opportunities.
Yes, and we will be touching on own source revenue
yes,
vis-a-vis what is given by the government a little bit later. But something came up when the government who have already completed their 2 terms, case in point, the outgoing was in Gishu governor. We also had Kivuda Kibwana from Makueni, now seeking the Senate seat, of which a lot of people have talked about that is conflict of interest. How can you be oversighting what you've already done? It's like marking your own exam.
Well, I don't see as such as conflict of interest. Remember, the governments within the new constitutions are only 10 years old. And therefore, we have not had, say, for example, a governor who will go to Senate and be able to enrich the conversations within the Senate. The same way I've said here is that there now are senators who are joining the Council of Governors, and they will be able to enrich the conversations within the Council of Governors. The same thing we also need. There are certain challenges that the governors have gone through that they need to bring those learnings, those lessons they have learned while serving as governors to the Senate, so that the Senate can be able to make better laws that are more responsive, as opposed to just laws that are put there and they are not able to meet the needs that the people require. I also believe it is good for those governors to come to the Senate and also improve on the working relationships between the senators, the governors, and also the county assemblies. Because a lot of the challenges we have is that the relationship between these independent offices does not work very well, and therefore derails the progress of development in some of these areas. For example, we had the first term of Susan Keheka when she was a speaker, and we had Governor Kinothia. Remember there was a time the county assembly, there were fracas there because the relationship was not doing very well. Then we have the most recent one of Lee and Cairo. We've seen how it was worked. I think it is good that now these three offices are looked at carefully, and the people who hold those offices are able to work together. They respect each other's role. And how can that be? By making sure that giving opportunity to governors to serve in Senate, for governors to senators to serve in gubernatorial being governors, and even county assembly speakers to come and serve in Senate and be governors, and various offices, so that you can learn. So it's important that people are we have crisscrossing opportunities where people can be able to learn and be able to improve this process. Our devolved governments will become better maybe 20 years or 10 years from now. So there is always what we call continuous improvement. With the new learnings that we get. And the only learning we can get, the best learning is from experience. Yes.
And still on the county speaker, of course, is the third in command. Of course, the National Assembly as well is going to attract a lot of traction. In county governments, we've seen unending wars when it comes to the county assembly and the county executive. And largely has been blamed because of, they talk about some interest. Sometimes you have to talk to your MCAs. And the speaker is always seen as either the good or the bad, the bad link when it comes to the county executive and the county assembly. But we've seen these wars, unending wars. We had several counties. The first one, I think, was Embu way back in 2013. And we've seen even Nakuru as well. We've seen, is it Nyandarua?
Nyandarua, even
as well.
Kisumu, there was a problem.
Remember Makueni? Remember Machakos in the first? But incidentally, that governance seems to have a little bit changed, because in 2013 to 2017, we had several wrangles, but in 2017, 2022, they were there, but not as pronounced as in 2013. What could have been the change?
Now, remember, when we first had the county assemblies formed in 2013, then we have the governors and we had the senators, and we had the national government in place. This was the first set of leaders to take these offices. So I believe there was a misunderstanding in terms of the expectations of each office. The MCAs thought in some areas they had some superior role as compared to that of the governor, as compared to that of the Senate, and therefore they felt they can be able to use that power they have to really coerce the governors to certain things. Then when we came to the second term, the governors were ready. They knew these people, the MCAs, if you're not very careful with them, they might finish you. And therefore, some of the governors decided, instead of dealing with 20, 30 MCAs or 50 MCAs, maybe let me deal with a speaker to manage them. Then the MCAs will realize, oh, we are being micromanaged by a speaker because he's in bed with the governor. So let's remove them. So this continuous shift of power is what formed the many conflicts that you see. What we need to now look forward in this third term of county governments is a scenario where the governors, the county speaker, the county assembly members, the senators respect and perform their respective roles without trying to infringe on the other. For example, the MCAs who are coming on board, they know very well that their work is oversight, representation, and legislation within the county. The senator knows very well that he or she has a responsibility to legislate within the Senate, to provide some oversight and be able to also represent the county. Those are shared responsibilities between the MCAs and the senator, because at the end of the day, they are checking the governor. And therefore, the office of the county speaker has to have what we call Solomonic wisdom in terms of how you manage the interests of the MCAs and the interest of the governor, because you still want all these people to perform. You are the only person who is not elected by the people. You are the only person who is elected by MCAs. And these MCAs, remember, all of them have been elected by people, and the governor has been elected by the same people. And these people who have elected these people expect certain services from these people. Yet, if you look at the role of the MCA, he may not have direct control on resources or resources that come to his ward or her ward, but the governor has a direct influence on those resources. The only way the MCA may have influence is by encouraging his people to participate in what we call public participation forums for budget making process and the making of the county integrated development plan, so that the expectation of the people within that ward is aligned with the plan of the CIDP, or is aligned with the manifesto of the governor, is aligned with the plan of the executive of the county. But the MCA may not have the resources to mobilize his people, and that's when the county speaker comes in empowering the MCA to make sure that the voice of the people who have elected him or her is heard in the making of the budget, in the implementation of the county development plan, in the agenda for the governor. So that is one important role the speaker is supposed to perform, making sure that he's able to marshal and provide the resources on the support to the MCA to be able to perform that role of oversight, representation, and legislation. Number two, the speaker also needs to know that it's important to support the governor in making sure that the laws that are made within the county assembly are able to help him or her deliver on the manifesto, because the manifesto that the governor has and the promises the MCAs have made, they need to be aligned. So if one of them is not aligned, the whole county will suffer. And therefore, encourage the MCAs to make those laws that will help the government. And where those laws are probably, for example, in conflict with the expectation of the people. For example, if you're bringing a law to increase the cost of permits, yet the MCAs promised the business community within their county that we will make sure that these permits are costless, you must find a way of mediating. And that's where the committees come in, where the committees can also listen to the executive and be able to ironite those issues and find a compromise. Because we need to stop this business of just believing that once you come into government as a governor, the only way to raise money is to charge more, to increase the cost of permits. And yet the same promises you made was not to increase the cost of permits, is to find alternative ways. So therefore, if there are ways where the county assembly can also facilitate the governors to be able to find alternative ways of raising money, or seal the loopholes within the county government, contributing to leakages for on-source revenues, then that is their responsibility. So there needs to be a lot of dialogue. You understand?
Yes. And I still want to pick your mind on the same, because looking at, before we wait for the 9 presidential petitions to be determined by the Apex Court, we have seen President-elect William Ruto fortify his squad so that he may have numbers at the National Assembly, so that he may actualize his plans, his agenda. And that is likely to play out. Is that likely to play out in counties where the governor plays a hand in the speaker who is elected? And what precedent does that send? Is that quite democracy? Because if at all you are going to be muscling numbers so that you may have your agenda passed, is that quite democracy?
Well, I want to believe that the MCAs can rise above that and exercise their independence at this point. Kenya Kwanza has 750 MCAs across the country. There are over 1,450 MCAs elected in the whole country. Therefore, Kenya Kwanza definitely, by any measure, has an upper hand in majority of the county assemblies. What I want to send is a word of caution to the MCAs. The only office that you have right now that can stand between you and party politics gone bad, or the governor gone wrong, is a county assembly speaker. That is the office where you can be able to safeguard your interests, and the interest you are safeguarding is you will be measured by the people 5 years later on the performance of you as an MCA, not on the performance of the party. We have had 10 years of county governments. The first one was TNA, URP, and then there was COD, which had ODM and the others. We have had now Jubilee, and then we had NASA, which has ODM and the others. Everybody who has gone to an election in the past 10 years, you've not been measured on the basis of a party. You've been measured on the basis of your performance as an elected official seeking for re-election. Today in Nakuru County, out of 55 MCAs who were elected in 2017, only 10 were re-elected. Yet majority of them were elected with a Jubilee ticket. If they went into bed with the Jubilee county speaker, or they went into bed with a speaker who gave them money and he did not perform as per their expectation, they have only themselves to blame. Is why out of 55, only 10 were able to be elected. So this is the only time they have right now, is that once they are sworn in as MCAs, the office of the county speaker should be their own. Should be one person that they are able to own, not because money was changing hands, not because the party has coerced them to elect a certain person, not because they slept on the job when it comes to electing. They need to interrogate every candidate who is going to present himself for the office of the speaker in terms of the personality of that person, in terms of the character of that person, in terms of the competence of that person, and in terms of the expectations that person has for them and what they expect from him, so that there is no conflict where if this person believes he's coming to serve a party, yet he's supposed to come and serve the MCAs. Because a county assembly speaker, the main responsibility is to steward the county assembly in terms of the performance of its role as an assembly, in terms of supporting the MCAs to perform their role. And therefore, it's not an issue of party business. This is an individual you are sending, that even when the parties have failed, when the governor has failed, when the deputy governor is not available, this is the one person who will steer the county for whatever period it will be before the next election is held.
So, Engineer, you're saying that Kenyans should be very careful on who they elect, because the MCA you elect will ensure that you have the third in command.
Yes.
So if at all you don't exercise caution when electing these leaders, they might end up messing everything at the top.
Yes.
And still on the same, we have seen every election cycle, a lot of speakers are either thrown out or they get other roles. And same with governors. We are having 8 governors who are coming to complete their second term.
Yes.
And the incumbents, we have only 11 governors who
are re-elected.
How is that likely to pan out? And it was quite a challenge to keep those seats, looking based on the numbers that we saw, looking at those governors who were seeking to retain their seats and the votes they got, vis-a-vis the 26 new entrants. The 26 mustered a lot of votes as opposed to those who are trying to keep their seats.
What I'll tell you is this. Number one, at play in this election, there was a wave in terms of certain regions where a certain political formation took the regions by storm. So we cannot shy away from that. But number two, also we need to realize that a lot of the governors who are kicked out is because more and more as we move forward, Kenyans are becoming aware that the only institution that can be able to respond faster to your needs is that of the county government. And the county government, the closest connection we have with the county government is your MCA. And if that MCA does not have a working relationship with the county government, so you as a people, you lose. So therefore, the large number of new governors coming on board is a reflection of how those who are there have failed in terms of delivery of promises to the people.
Engineer, in the same statement, you still talked about the party politics that play out. We could have some very good governors who now have exited office because of the wave, the political wave that was there. What exactly they do? There are some governors who have done quite well.
Let me tell you.
But unfortunately, they're out because of their party that...
One thing we need to understand that the office of governor is a managerial office. This is a person you are giving resources to manage, okay? And therefore, a lot of times is that a politician may not be the best person to manage resources, because politicians, they are people who just they use words most of the time to share a promise, but when it comes to delivering the real promise, they stumble a lot. And therefore, that's why you're seeing the party wave, because it's all about party politics. They were able to take office, even when they may not be the best candidates. You understand? Because it was all about politics. Right now, we have lost some very good governors. That one I'll tell you, it's for a fact. We have lost some very good governors who had made some good plans, and if those plans are lost because we have a new person, we will lose a lot. But it's my hope that within the county assemblies, we also have some good MCAs. We have some good senators.
Yes.
We have a good county speaker who will be elected, who will check so that this government doesn't go wrong.
We are hoping that after the swearing in tomorrow, they will just make sure that they do exactly as they said. We are talking about 11 incumbents, and maybe we can have a look at some of the governors who retained their seats. We begin in Kisumu County, where Peter Anyang' Nyong got over 319,000 votes. Remember, he is now, after swearing in tomorrow, he will be serving his second term. And just a small brief of the professor, he was vying on an Orange Democratic Party ticket. Again, we've talked about how the politics, the dynamics of politics are actually playing out when it comes to such seats. And others were, of course, in the race was former Governor Jack Raguma, who came in second after amassing just slightly over 100,000 votes. Another governor who was re-elected, we go to Nandi County, Stephen Sang. He will be sworn in tomorrow. Looking at the votes, 237. Stephen Sang Stephen Sang, let's go to Nyamira, where Amos Nyaribo got 82,000 votes, pitting Walter Nyambati and others as well. And as you can see from the colors themselves, it just explains a lot of how party politics played out in this general election when it came to these apex seats. And from there, we can see some of the profile from that county, Amos Nyaribo. He took the mantle to lead the county after the death of the first governor, the late John Ngarama, in the year 2020. So actually, this is the first time that he was at the ballot. Another lucky governor happens to be former Internal Security CS Joseph Olelenku from Kajiado County, who was voted in after amassing 117,600. And another thing here, look at these numbers. That is why I'm talking about the governors had a hard time to keep their seats. 117, 111. That shows you how even some governors, despite being from mostly predominant parties, had a hard time to keep that seat. As I had said, he was a former Interior Cabinet Secretary. Another county governor who was able to retain her seat. We talked about women leaders and especially women governors. Now in Kirinyaga, the incumbent was able to retain the seat. Anne Waiguru with 113 against Purity Ngirichi, 105. Again, looking at the numbers of these governors who are able to retain the seats, 113 against 105 is quite a battle. And again, party politics also have been able to play out. As you can see, she's defending her seat. She is one of the governors who has held a CS seat. From there, we head to the gubernatorial race in Vihiga, where we have Wilberforce Otichilo, who garnered 82,000 votes against Moses Akaranga, who garnered 42,000 votes. And when you come to the Western region, a lot of party politics played out between ODM, ANC, Ford Kenya, and new entrants DAP Kenya, which has really made some inroads if you basically gauge it by the duration that it has been there. Another governor who was able to retain the seat was the Rakanidi governor, Muthomi Njoki, who was able to garner 91,000 votes against his closest rival, Erastus Njoka, who happened to be the former VC of Chuka University. And perhaps we can have just a look at a brief history. He ran for governor in 2017 on a Jubilee ticket. This time round, he is governor on a UDA ticket. And another governor who was able to retain his seat was Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok, after garnering 158,000 votes, 798 against Isaac Ruto, 137,323. Again, the incumbents had a hard time in retaining the seats. This is another governor who was sworn in after the demise of the first Bomet governor, Joyce Laboso, in the year 2019, and he has been able to retain that seat on a UDA platform. And those are just some of the governors that were able to retain their seats, just to show how competitive it was, and they are 11 in number. Remember, tomorrow 45 governors will be sworn in between 10 a.m. by law, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And you can be sure that we will be keeping a keen eye. We are sending our troops there to ensure that we have been able to cover the 47 counties. If at all, we will be able to cover all the 47 counties, because the swearing in will be taking place at the same time. In case you just joined us, this is News Check. We are looking at the state of the nation. Of course, the eyes and focus has been on the presidential election and results and the petitions that were filed on Monday. But now focus is shifting to county governments, where we are expecting now to be fully operational. We have governors-elect, but from tomorrow we have 45 governors who will be sworn in. And you're asking why not 47? Remember, Kakamega and Mombasa are yet to go to the ballot. And now we are fortifying our bench. And thank you so much, Kevin Osindo, for making the time. He is the executive director of County Governance Watch. They have been keeping a keen eye since devolution, and since we started using the 2010 constitution after electing our president Uhuru and his deputy Ruto. Perhaps to throw you in the deep end.
Yes.
We are having a lot of new governments tomorrow, but
sure,
we still can't forget where we've come from.
Sure.
A scorecard on where we are now, 10 years into devolution.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And the scorecard, if you look at performance of counties, and the reason as to why Kenyans asked for devolved form of governments, if we are to look at, for example, service delivery, I would give county governments a score of about 7 out of 10, so that's 70%. If we are to look at the cost of corruption in counties and compared to 2013, I think the 2017 governors didn't do very well in terms of proper stewardship of resources of the citizens. We saw a lot of corruption now transiting into the second generation of our county governments in 2017 compared to 2013. And maybe that was based on the fact that we were testing devolution. So governors didn't know, for instance, the degree of resources that were coming, what citizens expected. If you look at on-source revenue perspectives or counties, I would give the 2017 governors maybe an 8 over 10, because a lot of governors were able to look at the resources that are inbuilt within their counties, and the failures of national government, particularly Treasury, to disburse resources to counties on time. So governors were being a little bit innovative and creative to look at how to ensure that that services are going on, and that citizens don't ask a lot of questions. I remember that this was also a third generation government. So we were transiting into another very strongly heated election, the 2022 elections, and a number of governors, around 22 of them, wanted to make comebacks. At least, luckily enough, we have seen 8 of them coming back, and 11 incumbents. You've just gone through the list. And so the varieties of the scorecard is different, but I think most counties, and this is not just about governors, it also has to do with county assemblies. I'm glad that my colleague was, when I came in, he was talking about county assemblies. We also look at their ability to make laws, because that is really the reason as to why county assemblies...
Actually, that was my next question. After giving the county executive its scorecard, in terms of legislation and oversight, the county assemblies, how have they done?
Very poorly. Because we have done a little bit of work in terms of laws that have been made by the county assemblies, and not many assemblies have done very well in terms of generating laws. So that, for example, a simple law that like public participation, which is a law that is anchored in Article 100 of the Constitution, and you look at County Governments Act also, the fact that public participation is the core of county governments. Why did county assemblies in 2013 fail to enact a very simple law to be able to enable and enhance public participation? So 2017 MCAs also did not do very well in terms of giving life to that public participation law. So as a County Governance Watch and the Council of Governors, we helped them, of course, through the Kenya Law Reform Commission as well. We helped counties to come up with a public participation law with the expectation that they would pick it up and run with it. But you remember that what we see happening even today is a few people still being called and put in WhatsApp groups, and they are told, tomorrow we are doing the budget, so we expect you to come and do. You raise your hand. When they ask how many of us accept, you say aye. How many of us object? The nays. Then ultimately the law is passed or the budgets are passed, but the details around why citizens are supposed to be participating is not a very key model of what indicator the MCAs are looking at. So we are hoping that moving on, they'll be able to do a little bit better in terms of strengthening public participation engagements, strengthening intergovernmental and interdepartmental engagements, so that if you look at committees within the county assemblies, the struggles, not just for resources, but the desire to have a lot of money in their pockets, so that if they are passing budget for agriculture, for example, they look at what gets back to us other than how the citizens or the farmers through the agriculture budget are going to benefit. The same would go to water, the same would go to elements like health. For example, why haven't we seen MCAs pushing the national government to fully devolve the health services? You know, a lot of it still is rested and vested in the national government, and so that means that even money is still being held there. So we haven't seen MCAs coming out even through the health committees to be able to push that counties actually undertake their mandates fully. And
Engineer, it's a good thing that Osido has brought about the issue of public participation that was more or less unheard of before the 2010 Constitution came into effect. But unfortunately, even now, not even many people know that the laws that are passed by the MCAs, first of all, have to be debated in a public forum. Yes. I've attended one, but unfortunately, there were no youths, and there were some few Azaes, and very few people. People do not know that we elect the MCAs to represent us, not to talk on our behalf per se, but to represent our interest. But unfortunately, when it comes for the time that you are given by law for public participation, even many people either do not know or do not even attend. And unfortunately, if anything is to go by, as Kevin has talked about, the county assembly performed quite poorly in that.
Well, I'll just say this is a Kenyan problem, where Kenyans are very good in participating in an election. They are very good in going to public rallies where they have been facilitated. They are very good in going to church crusades. And they are ready to go even if there was an accident. Most of them would rush and without being motivated. But on a very important thing like budget preparation at the county assembly, they don't want to show up. Even in the National Assembly, there are laws that require public participation, and people don't show up. We had the BBI that went through, and you could see the public participation was managed. In one way.
And actually, the court observed that.
Yes, it was
something that was debated at the Apex Court.
For me, I was one time with Radway Alliance, and we were doing the Punguza Mizigo bill. And you would really try and get people to come and listen to you, and you don't get. So Kenyans need to start changing, knowing that we are not in the old constitution dispensation. We are in a new constitution dispensation where the people are the supreme. And what you've done, you've delegated powers to the elected leaders. But you've not delegated all the powers. There is one power that has been reserved to you, which you can exercise through a process called public participation. And it's a very important process, because I remember when I was running for Senate, one of the residents told me, I'm a chairman of a resident association. And when we were preparing these proposals to the MCA, we agreed that they will do a certain road. But when we came to looking at the fine print of the budget and what has been appropriated, this road did not have money. It was another road which is near his home. Yet we had agreed that this road here is more important to us because it is serving a church, serving a school, serving all these things. It's much better than going to near his home where it is only serving probably him and a few people. So the issue of public participation, the Kenyans have to be more engaged in it. And I think I want to challenge the media. The same way you've spent a lot of time promoting Tanga Tanga, Bibia, and all these things for the last 4 years, can you now shift now, over the next 4 years, spend a lot of time in engaging Kenyans, understanding governance, and this question of governance, because a lot of the problems we're discussing here are not things that can be cured by law. We cannot make so many laws to cure this problem. We can only cure these issues by informing people and having informed people make decisions. Because without information, we cannot cure this problem.
And still on the same, because if at all you will be elected as Speaker, you will have a hard time, because public participation is not quite as robust. So you'll be having more or less like a new role. And looking at the seats at Wananchi, a lot of them don't watch television but listen to radio stations. And I believe it would be a good partnership for assemblies. They can pass a budget for perhaps. And
that's what I wanted to say. That's my agenda, is that if I get the speakership position in Nakuru County, one of the things that I want to really help the MCAs is in terms of messaging the work they do, in terms of the community understanding that a certain law that the MCA is proposing is important to them. And this is what is important about. And the only way you can do that is at making sure that we appropriate some resources to facilitate the process of public participation, oversight, and making the work of the MCA easier. Even for the senators, they also need to be given some resources so that when it comes to oversight, they have people within the ground, in the sub-counties, who can tell them, Bwana Senator, in the budget you allocated this county, we had proposed the following, but we are not seeing it happening. If there is a road you had said we shall be done, it has been done, but after the rains came, it has gone. Because a lot of these senators don't have the money even to go and know what is happening. So we need to appropriate some resources to help and invest in competent people to provide oversight. We have a lot of civil society doing oversight, but that oversight does not help because it is not anchored in law. It can only come to a media house like this, and that's it. But if we have an oversight responsibility anchored in law, so that if a report comes from us in my sub-county, from a senator's office, it is a document that can hold any governor to account. If there is an oversight report coming from an MCA's office with his small team that he has been provided resources with, he can hold the governor to account, and the county assembly can hold the government to account at that point. And the speaker can be measured that he has been able to steward the entire county assembly in holding the county government to account, facilitated the county government with the laws that it requires to perform its function. I'll tell you, for example, there is a law that was passed by the Senate which allows county governments to be able to get resources from, say, for example, a national asset, say like the way Narok gets money from Masai Mara directly to the county government. Why would not Nakuru County get some money directly from the geothermal power and be able to ring-fence that money to go specifically to address the issue of health, roads, and education? All that requires is the law in the Senate to work with the law with the county assemblies to be able to make sure when this money is sent by Kengen or the other person generating power is able to do directly what is required, which is address issues of roads, so that when we start dealing with the road, we don't build half roads or move roads from one area to the other.
But unfortunately, we are seeing that that is not happening. Looking at a very practical example, Embu County generates about 60 or 70% of all the power.
Yes.
The Seven Forks dams, but unfortunately the people there do not know. One, they don't have water, they don't even have electricity.
Yes, and that's what I was saying. Already there is a law in Senate which is sitting there. Has it been enforced?
It's gathering dust.
You understand?
Yes.
In my own sub-county in Bahati, there is a quarry which generates close to $500 million a year, and there was a law that was put in place, which is supposed to be enforced by the Minister of Mining, guaranteeing 5% of the revenues from that quarry to the people within that community. We don't need to beg money for building a healthcare facility because that quarry can build. We don't need to beg money for building a school because that quarry can build. The same thing in Naivasha. We have geothermal power, we have flowers, we have
tourism
five tourist locations within Nakuru County. Nakuru County generates over 6% of the GDP of the country. If we are left with only 5% of that contribution directly to us, we will not only support Nakuru County, but even the other counties around that depend on us. Nakuru is surrounded by 8 counties, which all depend with us. Baringo hospitals are not there. They all come to Nakuru. Kericho, Bomet, they all depend from the improved infrastructure in Nakuru. Nyandarua requires our market for their food. Laikipia, security issues are managed from Nakuru. Narok, Kiambu depends on our sand. What do we get from all this that we support? We need to put more money in these counties that be able to support. Nairobi the same. Nairobi is a county where if they are able to generate 100 billion of their own money, they can lend other counties. And this business of county suffering, we can have counties, economic blocks that are able to support our economic blocks.
Yeah, and Kevin, I would also want to get your sentiments on the same, on the own source revenue, because looking at many counties don't even get to half of what they're supposed to get. But unfortunately, what we witnessed in the first governments and now the second is a lot of wastages. And like engineer is talking about, if at all we put some percentage to ensure that public participation is quite robust, it's something that can help Kenyans. But unfortunately, all that is not being done. But unfortunately, we still have a lot of wastages in counties.
I honestly agonize with the scenario that engineer is painting, because that really dents the image, if I could say that, of public participation in counties, which is really one of the top 3 or 6 issues that counties are grappling with. Now, what I would advise that counties like Nakuru do is, one, strengthen public participation. And how to do it is to look at organized groups. If it is in tourism, what is the Hoteliers Association of Nakuru doing against the budget? Do they organize? Do they engage with the budget committee of the assembly? Do they strengthen mechanisms that even ensure that debates on those key concerns are taking place? I can give you examples of counties that we have worked with and have seen a lot of improvement. Tana River County, for example, has a long river, almost the second largest in Eastern Central Africa, if not the world, passing through, and it is called River Tana. But if you walk into, that's about 6 years ago, 4 to 6 years ago, you walk into hotels or in people's homes, so you just go to the streets, you see women carrying their children on their backs, and they are, rolling jerrycans of water from very long strings. And what we did with Major Adado was basically to look at what is the cost of cleaning the water. and tapping it or getting boozers. The long and short of the story is that when we did the International Water Day in 2019 in Tana County, which was also attended by CS Eugene Wamalwa, who was a Devolution and ASAL's cabinet secretary. You imagine the partnership that existed between the national government, that's the Ministry of Devolution and ASALs, and the county government, to an extent that the national government committed 5 water boozers, from National Irrigation Board, which has a huge project in Hola. And the county government committed an addition of 580 million shillings into the budget of water. And today, if you walk into any hotel or any of the families in Hola, at least within the communities, you will either see tanks that have been put together, or you will not miss to see 3 different water boozers moving through the sub-counties supplying water. The same can be told of tourism in Taita Taveta, which we have also done a lot of engagements and advocacy. And the beauty of this is organizing the communities. So the question to the people of Nakuru is, can the hoteliers, because I know they have the biggest, in fact the chair of Kenya National Hoteliers Association comes from Nakuru. Why can't they be able to engage with the county assembly and the county government to present the picture of how much the county government can be able to raise through its own revenue mechanisms and schemes. Number 2 is, of course, the economic blocks. And he mentioned 8 counties that neighbor Nakuru, and all these counties really have benefits. And there is a value which each of the counties therefore add. And if you look at the Abadeas, because I think Nakuru is in Abadeas, economic block, Mount Kenya and Abadeas, why can't the leadership of Mount Kenya and Abadeas sit down and ask themselves, now that all these 8 counties have a value-add mechanism, how can we be able to benefit from each other? And then they come up with their own local policies, because I'm sure that is both an executive role, and then even through the assemblies, they can put up an act.
Yes, and Kevin, allow me, because the own source revenue and how to manage that incomparable to what is received by counties from the national government. We're going to be looking at that in depth. But for now, allow me to have a break together with my sign language interpreter, Carol Njoroge. We need to have that break. But when we come back, we're still looking at counties. Remember, tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. as enshrined in law, all the governors and deputy elects will be sworn in their various respective counties, and we'll be keeping a keen eye on that. Actually, we'll be live from the counties to bring you that coverage. I'm with Crispus Wadimba, who is a principal consultant, infrastructure projects, and also a leadership and governance expert. And we have Kevin Osido, who is the executive director of County Governance Watch. And Kevin, because we started this a little bit earlier, we will tell us and the viewer what exactly County Government Watch is and how you've been able to always liaise with counties for better devolution and governance.
No problem.
Let's take that break. We'll be right back. This is KBC. Allow me also, by director, just give me 1 minute. I just sample some of your responses here on social media. Ramadan Hassan, you say so proud. Billy, you say impressive. Well to join. Then we have somebody who has brought about something quite interesting that is ailing a lot of Kenyans. Will you finally dismantle the unga prices? Will you? I don't need to discuss such in Kenya. Maybe you mention countries that he says not in Kenya, somewhere else. But we will be delving into that and also sampling some of your responses during this live interview. This is KBC, and this is News Check.
Akili, this is Akili. Hey there, friends. What time is it?
What should Achilles say to greet little lion?
Whoa!
Can you read the word?
Oh! Don't worry, Bush Baby. You can draw it again.
Achilles, Achilles, this is Achilles. She has a secret.
Tell us!
When the sun goes down, Achilles goes to sleep, and she enters a world where all the animals speak. My baby, my son.
He was stillborn, Dad.
What?
Yes.
I already told you no. No, there's nothing there for me.
What would you like? I want the same as always. Why do you keep asking when you know I want the same thing every day? I'll get it right away.
But if you like, I can stop looking for
Oh
her.
no, that's impossible.
In that case, you need to give me more money to continue the investigation.
Find something that inspires you instead of feeling sorry for yourself all the time. Why don't you help me at the hotel?
What?
The only way I can keep you alive is by taking your eyes from you to give to her.
You'll marry her in heaven?
Right. I want the whole world to know that she's my wife.
Lady Loria, I'm begging you. Please don't take me from Florissa Court. Please don't.
Even if you speak up for me, no one will believe us. Not even Genova believes.
Ni kweli. Bosi mtoto mimi sijamuona tangu jana.
Maana yeye ndo babake na mamake. Au mtawa kumadokta.
Siku zote wewe ndo wampeleka shuleni. Mbona leo?
Sasa pia tutabishana kwa sababu ya hili.
Badi, hebu toka humu ndani ama ni uvunje mlango. Wataka kufa wewe kwa njaa? Put him down.
Smart. Nilifikiria swali la kwanza utaniuliza ni nimeingiaje ndani. I see. Put him down.
Birds can't settle down till me get my herbs to burn. We just can't get her down until me get my collie to burn. She don't call anymore, 'cause I'm so fucking by you. Have you found somebody? Reverse the curse to where it's coming from. Turn it back as fast as you can.
Wiki hii kwenye mkulima.
Kipanda mti huwa haina stress nyingi, ikishakuwa ni ku harvest tu. Every week na harvest napata pesa, every after a week napata pesa.
Hata wewe huna budi kuanza kilimo hicho.
Ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 Kondo kamili.
For the past 2 weeks, the athletes of Major League Wrestling and the luchadors of AAA have competed in heavy-hitting fights. Oh my God! High-flying encounters, bloody brawls, Ortiz, oh my God! And title fights. As we enter Week 3 of the historic first-ever Super Series, both leagues are tied at 2 wins apiece. The unstoppable Jacob Fatu of Contra. Who the hell is going to pry the championship away from the Samoan Smashing Machine?
Sometimes I wish I never left. Probably JJ would be at a better place right now.
And you were not really there when we needed a mother.
Kuna kitu inaitwa doto za mushana na dreams. So, jua kutofautisha.
Ukitaka ku make money on the sides apart from this job, punguza mdomo.
Kunyamaza pia inakuwa ni gharama sana.
Unajua kuongea lugha ya pesa.
Hello?
I'm planning to call a board meeting.
She has already reached. Okay, let me Let me look at the forms, then I'll get them to you via email.
How would you like working with us?
I'm not quite sure how that would work.
We are on the same side.
We're gonna need Millicent on our side.
Welcome back to KBC News Check, and today we are going to the counties. You do remember that in less than 24 hours, 45 governors and their deputies will take oath of office and will take their offices, and now all counties will be good to go as we wait for the presidential petitions in the Supreme Court. What happens is that IBC, as mandated by law, has already gazetted the 45 governors elect and their principal assistant, and also on the list of elections. From assuming office, the first entry will be to elect the county speaker, who will be the third in command when it comes to the counties. How that will pan out is one of the things that we are discussing. How have counties fared so far? We promulgated our constitution and we started those governments in 2013. Now we are in 2022, just about 10 years of devolution. How has the scorecard been? Of course, a lot of challenges, taking office, duplication of roles, wastages, corruption, as well as governance. That is what me and my panel, we have Ken Osido, who is the Executive Director of County Governance Watch. We have Engineer Crispus Wadiba, who is also, it's a good thing that you've mentioned that you also be seeking the county speaker seat of Nakuru. And also now we are joined by Charles Omanga, who is a leadership and governance expert and also an advocate of the High Court, to try and put things into perspective when it comes to counties, because now we are from the presidential petitions for now. Focus is now shifted to the counties and we have to check how they are. But to give you a good glimpse is that 45 governors, of course I say 2 because of Nakuru and, Kakamega and Mombasa are yet to go to the ballot, but we will do that this coming week. We have 26 governors who are first-time governors. We have 11 incumbents who had to sweat it out to pick their seats again, and we have 8 comeback governors. They were there in the year 2013. Well, 2017, they were in the political cold, but now they are back for their final term because, as mandated by law, they only have to go for 2 terms. Let me bring in my panel of experts. Before we went for the break, Kevin, we were looking at the wastages that in county and trying to balance the equation, because 2013 perhaps maybe we could have excused some of the wastages because it was a new territory. But by 2017, we had already gained traction. But unfortunately, we are seeing a lot of wastages in counties. But before you do that, just tell us exactly what County Government's Watch is and what you've been doing in terms of oversighting counties.
So County Governance Watch, as the name suggests, is a non-government organization that watches over county government. So what we do is basically to look at performance of counties in terms of the human resource elements, in terms of the budgetary elements, in terms of service delivery elements, and issues that have got to do with public participation. So how we do this is that we have a tool called the County Governance Index, which assesses performance of counties on 5 key service delivery areas: health, water, education, agriculture, and infrastructure. And so this moves us to the second thing which we do, which is called setting up the governance roundtable. So after every assessment of the counties that we do, which is done on an annual basis, so every year we do the assessment, but we have a midterm report that we release, and then we put together what is called the governance roundtable, which is a feedback mechanism, which is chaired by the county governors, and they bring in the speakers and other key, very relevant personnel. So those include the CECs of the service delivery areas, the chief officers who are like the PSS at the national level and the various directors. So in between, we also bring in the county assembly because of the oversight issue. So if it is health, for example, we invite the health committee. If it is education, we invite the Education, Gender and Youth Social Services Committee. And so the kind of feedback that generates or emanates from this is, of course, then it sets the agenda of the county government. So if the citizens have a feeling that, for example, there is an overemphasis of infrastructure, where a lot of the budget goes into infrastructure, and what we have seen is that there has been very good reasons why that is happening, then we ask the counties to rechannel, or through the supplementary budgets, the county assembly can appropriate resources of finances that now boost the elements where citizens don't feel it. So we also do a lot of involvement in elections, and just in the last few months, since April, we have been working with the IEBC and other stakeholders to ensure that the right people are actually elected. So we are glad that in about 23 of the 47 counties, we have relations with like some of the governors, because we've been supporting them through civic education issues, voter education. We had observers in some of the counties. We also undertook vetting sessions for those who are running for office. So at least in about 23 of those 47 counties, I would proudly say that we are going to be having people that we already have a relationship with. And even as we are seated here and talking, we already having conversations with the Council of Governors and even the specific county assemblies and the county governments to undertake induction programs. So we know that the COG, for example, has been working on a manual used to induct governors, deputy governors, MCAs, and other officials of the county. So as an organization, we also come in for technical assistance and technical support. So that, in a nutshell, is more or less what County Governance Watch is about. But our primary business is to protect devolution and make the voices of the citizens count in the governance and leadership issues.
The wastages, and of course corruption, we're going to touch that, because that's quite a big thorn when it comes to county governments. There have been a lot of wastages, and as I said earlier on, by 2013 we were just try and error when it comes to the county governments, but by 2017, and now we are headed to 2022, but unfortunately we still have the wastages.
Why this is happening is for a number of reasons. But from a constitutional legal perspective, which is the first reason, we haven't seen Chapter 6 and Article 10 of the Constitution being put into effect. So we have corrupt people being elected, and they actually get voted into office by the voters. People who cannot explain the sources of their wealth. So that really dents the kind of image and even the kind of expectation that citizens have. And if you look at campaign financing aspects of this country, and that's also a legal issue, because Parliament has failed for the last 10 years to pass the campaign financing law, people cannot be able to put a cap on the amounts of monies which they use to campaign. So a lot of that is used for bribing voters, even for people whose passion is not in going to help, serve the citizens. They are just there because maybe there is quest for power, or we have the resources to be able to campaign and get elected. And then the other bit of it, of course, is also to look at the roles and functions of why are we electing a governor, is of course to ensure that services are delivered, and the MCA to oversight and to make laws and to represent us. But if you look at the unholy alliances that then play in within counties, where governors use county resources to buy or to bribe MCAs to pass certain laws or to pass certain budgets, that leads into corruption. The fourth issue is a lack of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to devolve its services to the counties. So, for example, they have, I think, 8 regional offices, but we have always made a call for them to be able to go down to the grassroots, and by that I mean having conversations or forums with the citizens. And we already spoke about organized citizen networks in the counties in our initial segment. It becomes a big opportunity for EACC, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, to begin to engage directly with citizens, as opposed to having structured, very high-level conversations where only suit wearers like ourselves are the ones who are invited, but the pain of the citizens is never felt. The fifth reason is a lack of MCAs, the county assemblies, to pass an anti-corruption law, because the Constitution does not bar them to have their own localized laws in terms of what we do. And that has been a major issue that has been raised even through the County Governance Index, because we also have a session for recommendations. And citizens always say, please let us have a local law, our own way of dealing with corrupt leaders. And the question that has always been asked is, how come it's easy for a chicken thief, somebody who is feeling, a young person feeling very hungry and goes and, catches a standby chick of a neighbor, and this person gets arrested and is jailed for 6 months or 8 months or whichever amount of time. But a county officer who, appropriates resources to some dubious infrastructural budget, or does not show how much they have been able to use to buy patrols across, because in these counties you walk in and you ask yourself, in 2 months you have 12 petrol stations owned by 4 MCAs. How possible is that? Yet we know the amounts of monies at MCAs, and so people who cannot be able to. So the lack of putting in place localized laws and mechanisms through which county governments can be able to deal with corruption basically form a number of, or some of the reasons as to why we have seen corruption being quite profiled and highly devolved at the county level.
And I would also want Wakili now to dig in that why are counties not passing corruption laws? And still, while at it, looking at the president-elect, William Ruto has started marshalling numbers, Kenya Kwanza numbers, and we have heard that there are some parties who had an alliance with perhaps Azimio, and now they are jumping ship to this. Of course, the law does allow pre- and post-coalition agreements. How does this pan out? Because if at all a president or a governor will always be marshalling numbers so that he may determine who will be the speaker, and of course that some people may argue that that's not quite democratic.
I think it is a great tragedy because if you see even how our Political Parties Act was structured, I think it doesn't permit any person or individual who is taken to parliament through another political party, and then immediately after, then you start to espouse ideologies of another political party. And more importantly, if we look at the way this coalition agreement, more importantly the Azimio one, was a little bit rigid. I had an opportunity to at least get an access to it, and actually doesn't allow any member, and you saw what happened with the former governor of Machakos, had a lot of issues when he wanted now to join Kenya Kwanza, because there is a clause there that it explains the procedure of getting out of that coalition. And therefore, it is only that we have become a country where the wrong becomes the right and the right becomes the wrong. And then the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties had never made it its business to ensure that those who or individuals that actually violates those provisions are put to book. So that is why this issue of people crossing over immediately after, or trying now to explain and espouse ideologies for another political party other than the ones that took them to parliament, it is a great tragedy. Having said that, I think politics is about numbers, and then we know we are at a very, very critical time. Transition periods are always a very dangerous time in a political life of any nation all over the world. And therefore, when you have a sitting president that is not seeking election or re-election, or is now has finished his term, it becomes a little bit convoluted in terms of the political arrangements. So that's why we see the president-elect, Honorable William Samoei Ruto, is really trying to ensure that, because you see now the election, the way in terms of numbers, the numerical strength in both houses of parliament, it is like they are almost 50-50. So whoever tries as much to quote the other side or quote certain individual to ensure that he has the majority, and for whatever reason the intentions is always known in terms of who to give speaker, because these coalitions, there are certain seats that were promised to certain individuals that joined either of the coalition. So I think it is something that should not really be celebrated, but we really have to put our foot down to ensure that the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties is really empowered to ensure that they really do their mandate. So that is the only way we can cure this menace. But otherwise, if we just take it as usual.
Do Azimio have any legal remedies at the court?
They do, because now it is them to explain to those individuals that have decided and made it their business to cross before even they are sworn in to join other coalitions. The fact that the law permits post-election coalitions or alliances, whatever nature, doesn't mean that now those coalitions now overrides what the dictates of the Political Parties Act.
Okay. Hold the thought. First of all, let's cross over to Njiro, where Education CS Professor George Magoha is just opening up a new CBC classroom. Let's first of all cross over and hear the professor.
Completion of our CBC classrooms, quite a number of counties are at 100%, and I have officers across the nation. Like I said, Dr. Sarah Ruto is still in Mombasa. From there, she will go to Elgeyo Marakwet, where we still have a hiccup. We are at 85% plus, which means we are working against time for 15%. Most of the uncompleted classrooms are at roofing or walling level. So we are quite confident that we shall complete. We are focused mainly in the Coast region and Western region together with Nairobi. All the others are self-propelling. The Rift Valley is quite large. There are some counties there like Nandi that are doing extremely well. There are also others that are struggling, like Elgeyo Marakwet, and we are sure that we shall be able to reach our targets. But my message this morning was about a few teachers who are still sending children home. It really leaves a bitter taste in the mouth. There's a child who has been sent away from a school in Nairobi. We looked for the principal the whole of yesterday. We have looked for the principal today, and the child has only gone back to school today. I am saying this as a parent and grandparent myself. If somebody is struggling and has paid all the fees for the year and only has a balance of 30,000 shillings, and the sister is assuring you that she will continue to pay as we move along, and you feel compelled that the child must go home, then again, I'm trying not to use very strong words, but I think even in my slight words, I would say that that is not proper. It is not human. We have got a lot of challenges. We are going to miss a day on Monday. Who knows whether we shall miss other days. I think we shall take it very seriously as a criminal offense. If, as we have directed you to look for the parents, instead you are sending the children home. It is really bad and sad to do so. And I don't know what happened. But having said so, I want to thank the greater majority of our the teachers, the principals and head teachers who have gone into some kind of working relationships with those children that are struggling. Those destitute children that got into a Elimu scholarship, I have been advised that now the money has started going to schools. They must also not be removed from schools because that scholarship is going to go on for the next 4 years. It's a large number. We are now talking of 27,000 children across the nation. And I also want to thank the school managers for ensuring that they are there and doing everything possible. Everybody seems to be worried that, we should extend time and what have you. In my assessment, I have noticed that a large number of schools have already completed the syllabus, and all that they need to do as they revise is to apply the knowledge that they are revising, so that you don't just go through the syllabus again like a machine. And I think all will be well. Those who are so afraid that the time is going to be short, I think we wait and cross the bridge when we get there. Now, if somebody has a question that is pertaining to what I have said, say so. But if it is not pertaining, can we just accept that we are friends and we move on to the next?
Yes,
pertaining to what we have said.
Yes. You've given us so far the progress in CBC classrooms in public schools, but we know private schools have given the undertaking that they will build up to about 5,000 classrooms. So what is the status? And the last time we spoke to some of them, they said the issue of putting up a laboratory could be challenging most of them because previously they had a plan just to put up classrooms. So what is the situation so far?
That is now water under the bridge. Our colleagues in the private sector have done extremely well. First of all, you start with the urban areas, Nairobi being one of them. We have now got close to 150 primary schools that have constructed laboratories that we accept as standard. And I think, like I said, the government is not stopping by us moving on. Where we are standing from, I can now tell you, unless the parents choose otherwise, that the great majority of the children who are in private schools and their parents want them to remain in those private schools for junior secondary school will be able to do so. Because we have given out a standard laboratory that is being done. And some of them have done laboratories out of this world. You can also overdo it. Some of them have overdone it, but I don't think it's no longer an issue. They might actually surpass the original target that we gave them. The small matter would be that when you take your child there, then you have to pay for it because it is voluntary. That's why you don't see us making too much noise. Our job is to ensure that every child goes to school. But if you choose to go to a private school, first of all, check your pocket. And if you have a few coins there, then you do so. Mombasa is not doing as well, but we are focused there. We are moving with them. Why these two cities is because Nairobi usually has close to 50,000 extra children who go to private primary schools and then they have to compete for the other public schools. Mombasa about 25 to 30,000. The other flanks are doing reasonably well. I strongly believe that the momentum we have created will continue, and that no parent who wants her child to remain in the private school for the next 2 or 3 years will be told that there is no vacancy there. First of all, it's a business, so they can expand very quickly if they want. Are we together? So I think that's what really I want to say today. In terms of what is happening on Monday, our children who will remain in school, there's so many things to do in school. You can be in small groups, even in the halls, and discuss. You can go to the fields, you can play hide and seek. There are so many things you can do. And for those who will be staying home for just one day, nobody has made you blind. You are carrying books, and if you like, you can also stay around each other and do a lot of things. So let's leave a lot of politics out of this. But you will understand that this ministry of mine cannot rest like others. I can't say, well, let me now stop working. I would be doing a great disservice to our children. So, as you see me, I think I need more encouragement than being bashed. And we will continue to do so. So you will see me until such a time that I'm handing over to Mr. or Miss X in my office. Then I can go back to my surgical clinic and continue from there. Thank you.
I have a question. What special needs institutions?
Most kindly, madam, who are you and where do you come from?
My name is Laura Shatuma from the Star.
Yeah, what is the question again?
The question is, what's the status of classroom construction in special needs institutions?
Well, our special needs institutions are special, as you know, and so we are paying a little bit more attention to them. You know, we usually give, even under normal circumstances, an extra 50,000 shillings to them. So we are not unduly worried. Maybe you are worried because you have not seen me going to open classrooms there. But there are ways and means by which we take special needs, and the ways and needs by which they move from one one grade to another, those who choose to go to a school that is normal, like if you just need large prints, those will benefit from what we are doing now. But the very serious ones, like the blind ones and others, I don't think you should worry very much because we pay a lot more attention to them. Maybe what I should do now is to ensure that I take you to one of them.
Education CS Professor George Magoha, live from the Muhuri Mushiri Secondary School in Njiru sub-county, right here in the capital there. Just commissioned CBC classrooms, and I've been able to pick up a few things, and because of interest of time, allow me to mention that he has said that the government is firmly on course to implement the junior secondary classrooms, no sending of candidates or even pupils because of fees. And we have our very own Beatrice Gatonye Ngetich, who is keenly following up there. The last minute there, the CS responding to some questions fielded by the journalists will be coming a little bit later with a comprehensive report on the same. But for now, allow me to interact with my panelists, and still, since we are on the education note, I would like to hear your sentiment, because you've been on the field, and how the election cycle interferes with the education calendar, because there have been suggestions that there could be petitions to stop queuing voting in schools so as not to interrupt our students and our pupils.
Well, I don't see the merits of that challenge because, schools are public facilities. The only challenge is that we are spending a lot of time in terms of determining an election. I think if we could have used other electronic means in terms of tallying these results, within a day or two, the whole process would be complete. But waiting for 5-7 days, it's not convenient. So I think as we progress as a country, the same way we are able to borrow billions of shillings through M-Pesa without even going to the branch or the bank, we should be able also to do our elections without having to physically be there and trust the process to be true. I think we are spending a lot of money in a process because we lack trust in our systems. So if we can cultivate a culture where we appoint people who are not politically inclined, we appoint people who are patriotic to the country and are able to give us a process that is free, fair and transparent, then we will not have to have these worries about schools being closed or not. Because there are countries where even if you want an election tomorrow, they'll do it. Because the systems are there, the processes are very clear, the people who can handle it are people who can be trusted. But this country suffers from a huge trust deficit, and that is what is costing us a lot of money. We spend close to 4,000 shillings per person in an election. Well, in other countries, they spend maybe 500, 200 shillings. Why should we do that? Just because of a one-day process. And now with this petition that is in place, we don't even see the worth, the things that are being revealed. Does it really matter to go into an election if somebody can be able to manipulate through a portal or such things? But we leave it to the Supreme Court to be able to determine and give us direction.
And it's a good thing that you've mentioned that, because Wakili, you are not done with your point on how county governments, they pass bylaws, and some are quite fast. But when it comes to corruption laws, what would it take? Because perhaps they're reading the script from the national government, where one agency will flag off people because of corruption allegations, but at the end of the day, these people not only end up at the ballot, they end up in parliament, they end up in senate, they end up in county leadership.
I think there is no deficiency in terms of how best should we ensure that the issues of anti-corruption laws are implemented at the county level. The interdependence nature of how our county governments interact with the national legislations is that there is no difference in terms of corruption. There is no corruption that is unique to Trans Nzoia County government, and there is no corruption that is unique to Bungoma County. Therefore, the only thing that is lacking is the nexus in terms of the goodwill, in terms of implementation. Because if we have regional offices, so it is only that we have made corruption to be a normal thing. So in terms of how we relate with people who are perceived or presumed to be corrupt. Therefore, in terms of the fact that even county government, the county assembly also have that legislative role, doesn't mean that now they must or they have to pass a law in whichever county to deal with corruption. Because we have Anti-Corruption, Economic and Economic Crimes Act, EACC Act. We have these laws. We have the Leadership and Integrity Act that actually is trying to give effect to Chapter 6 of the Constitution. So therefore, I think the goodwill and the ability to ensure that those whom we give opportunity to serve us in whatever leadership capacity must be people of good character. And that is why I like what Usido's organization is trying to do in terms of ensuring that telling the populace that what do you look into for a leader. And therefore, at least we are trying to move forward, but we must ensure that we try to implement and live by the spirit and the letter of the law, so that the people that are perceived, or whenever there is a misapprehension that certain individual has engaged in a corrupt act, therefore the law must take its course. It is only that our very own, the general citizenry, have made it their business to try to protect such individuals, so that when they are tried to put to account, then people are saying that our people are being targeted. So until such a time that we would have to live to the reality that we really have to ensure that we have a society and a group of leaders that are corrupt and are really believed in terms of the integral integrity as the Constitution demands. So there is no need, there is no insufficiency of laws. That law must be implemented even at the county level, and the implementation matrix does not include or entail an enactment of another law to give effect. So what we have to do is that we must have those individuals that are willing and are ready to ensure that when you are corrupt, then you must have to account for whatever action or inaction of your dealings. So that is what will really save us. But we do not really have to enact any anti-corruption law at the county level. No.
I know, Kevin, you have a say when it comes to matters corruption and how we can strengthen the institutions that we have vested power in and resources to ensure that our money is safeguarded. But I would like to pick your mind, Engineer, on the same, because actually, if at all you're going to get that seat as the speaker, you're the third in command. But we've had not only corruption in county governments, but also in county assemblies. We've even seen a lot of wastages in benchmarking. We have trips. We have so many outlets of cash as opposed to the inlets.
I think what we lack as a country is not laws that can fix the problem. What we lack is men and women who are courageous to face this problem. Remember, in South Africa, Zuma was challenged by a state prosecutor who was courageous enough to prosecute the issue of state capture and misuse of public resources by the president. And she was steadfast in terms of pursuing that matter to conclusion. But the system there was able to protect her in a way that she will not become a victim because of what she was doing. Even though Zuma had a constituency of people who supported him, she was not scared of this constituency. She was focused on finding out, did Zuma do the following issues? Was there state capture? And she was able to prove that. So what we need as a country is that if you're given an office as the boss of EACC or DCI or DTPP, or me as the county assembly speaker, am I courageous enough to follow through the issues that I'm trying to challenge? Do I have the conviction that is required to serve in that office? Because what we lack here is that, even you can see in the IEBC issue, people are saying it's because they are affiliated to a certain formation, that's why they are taking a position. Not because that we are interrogating the issues they are raising. Whether those issues have merit or not, we are not looking at that. We are looking at where do they come from? What is their second name? Who are they affiliated with? We need to move away from that kind of mindset. We move to a mindset where we have men and women we can trust. Men and women who have the courage to be able to take up a position, stand by it, and move forward until to conclusion. So I think that's what we need to start investing in, and that's what we need to encourage. And now the way we can encourage is be able to recognize these men and women who are championship for trust, like what County Watch is doing, and other organizations, other personalities that are able to stand firm on a certain position.
Kevin, and looking at the institutions that we have, Wakili and Engineer have alluded to the fact that we don't even need other laws. We just need to strengthen the institutions that we have.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, looking at before this election, agencies like NCIC, EACC, they raised the red flag and showed Kenyans and the world that these people should not be at the ballot. But unfortunately, again, not only were they in the ballot,
some of them have been elected.
A lot of them have been elected and some re-elected. But at the end of the day, they're going to be serving the counties that we want to jealously defend devolution and rid corruption. Does it concern you?
Of course it does. And part of what we have failed to do is to break down what I would call the cost of corruption. If His Excellency the President, for example, says that we lose 2 billion shillings per day, what is 2 billion shillings in a county? Okay, take it to the county level, 800 million shillings for wheelbarrows that have some unique features, you know. What would 800 million shillings do in a county like Bungoma or in a county like Lamu that only has about 140,000 people? It's that there's a lot that kind of money can be able to do. So what we have failed to do as a nation and even as organizations and institutions is to help the citizen understand that cost of corruption. That if you allow somebody to take even 100,000 shillings of money which is supposed to be given for water, then that means you will not get water for as long as how many days or how many months. So breaking down the cost of corruption, because the analysis is there, the degree of the amounts of monies that we lose is there, because if you look at the procurement process, both at national and even at county levels, including what we call the project management committees that have citizens nominated into those committees, and their primary role is to look at bill of quantities, the time spent for constructing whatever it is that the county is procuring. A lot of the compromises, people being given, you know, a chair of such a committee comes and says, you know, today the governor is very sufficiently philanthropic, and he has said you will not get 5,000, in fact we'll add you 10,000. And then people forget that the huge amounts of monies we are discussing is not commensurate to the 15,000 or the additional 10,000. And through people now are told, no, the meeting for next week is postponed because anyway, we already gave you your... So nobody wants to invest in going back to ask, by the way, why the money they gave us, where did it come from? So we have citizens who are seconded to certain committees at counties, and they are not very keen to look at the ripple effects. Number two is what we call the CBF, the County Budget and Economic Forum, which is really the most open mechanism that also invites both government and non-governmental staff, so citizens, to be part of this discussion that really deals and delves deeper into looking at the county budget. But if you look at aspects like training, a simple training like spotting corruption, you know, so when you have a figure of 100 billion, how do you break that down from budget item to budget item, and what is it supposed to achieve? So we have also not invested in training citizens who sit in certain institutions like the CBF, which is a legal and constitutional mechanism through the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, which is really the mechanism through which counties also get their monies. The other bit of it is what I would call probably dealing with conflict of interest. If you are an MCA and your role is to exercise oversight, why do you want to be roped into executive role? So you're always calling the chief officer and asking, you know, that dam that I told people I was going to build when I was campaigning, you know, we have to build it, and I already have even these people from China or from wherever who can come and give us a good mechanism. Why do you want to push, you know, for certain things to be done your way? Because you know that already there is going to be interest. The last thing probably is reporting corruption. Because yes, we have these institutions, we have whistleblowers, we have people who come up and say, I suspect some dubious business going on, but the institutions are never very strong in terms of administering the responsibility. So that if you look at time that we spend to deal with corruption issues, I know BBI was thrown out of the table by the Supreme Court, but BBI had recommended 2 years for any corruption case, whether it is mega, minor, or micro, or whatever, yeah? Today, we have governors who have been elected into office and they have issues in court spanning 6 years ago. We have senators who have issues in court. We have MCAs, some of them who have issues. We have MPs who have killed people. But their issues are never dealt with. But yet, small theft cases, the police is very quick to go and grab people and pick people. So the time we spend to deal with corruption issues also needs to be revisited, which is why I was proposing that county assemblies or counties need to come up with, if we cannot be able to pass laws, because I agree with them that we have enough laws to be able to deal with them, then let's domesticate and use community radio stations to empower citizens and tell them, if you spot corruption, corruption looks like this, get a toll-free number which you can call, or an SMS which you can text and say, I went to the county government, I was asked for 200 shillings to be able to get a piece of paper, which I can download or whatever. So,
yes, and they're still on the same, and we need to pick up the pace. And now, looking at the party list, of course, we will be having the same in the counties, the nomination list, and in the national government. But unfortunately, even the two major coalitions, Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, they were not even able to just give the basics, what is required in law.
I think the way we run our political parties, just like private member clubs, is what really is ailing our nation. Because, political parties are the vehicles or institutions through which we get our leaders into the positions of power. But when you find the political parties by itself not really adhering and complying with the law, then that is also something that really need to be called out. Because if you look at even the party list, I think before the elections, there were questions that were raised that certain political parties did not really comply with the requirements that the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission required them to do in terms of who to nominate and how. So that's non-adherence to what the law demands. And because you see now these party leaders, these leaders of these various political parties, they always take political parties as their own personal properties, and that is and it should not be, because these are political parties like an institution of governance, whereby those dictates of how governance, what good governance entails, must be manifested in these political parties in terms of how they are run, in terms of those individuals that they give an opportunity to be leaders in those political parties. So therefore, I think what we really need to do as a nation, we must have a citizenry that actually put leaders to account for whatever actions or inactions that they engage in their day-to-day affairs of how these political parties are managed. And if failure to do so, actually we would always be lamenting, because just the way we say, we have enacted so many laws. We had the issue of two-thirds gender rules, where we are saying we really need to ensure that any appointed elected police of more than two-thirds of the same gender. And then I'm very happy that at least this time around, actually our women, our sisters, our daughters have really tried to go out there and actually try to battle it out. And actually that is because we are trying, as we are moving, however nascent our democracy is, but we are trying to ensure that the political environment is not that favors the male gender in terms of the issues of violence, the issues how name calling, body shaming of this our sisters, this our mothers. So I think going forward, I think these are lessons learned. We must actually try to strive towards ensuring that we make our political parties to be those that actually portray what it should, how it should be.
And engineer,
yes.
Still on the same, but I'm going to give you 2 minutes because we are running out of time. I wanted us also to briefly touch on the equalization fund, because 34 counties in this financial year 2022-2023 been given 6 billion by the government, of which half is distributed and the other half about the county development index. Looking at some counties, a good example is Nakuru. It's quite rich, if you ask me, in terms of resources, in terms of human resource, businesses. But this fund for the last, almost 10 years, Kevin?
Yeah.
It has not really met its target.
I think overall, we need to take, beyond watching the county governments, we need to take stock of these investments we've done in the county governments. If you look at county government as a business, we have transferred close to 3 trillion over the last 10 years. But how that 3 trillion has manifested in terms of economic growth in those counties, we need to take stock of that. Have those counties increased in terms of revenue generation? Have those counties starting to demand less from the national government because they can be able to support themselves? Give an example of Turkana. It gets a very big share of that equalization fund. But as recent as now, the issues of hunger are prevalent there. Yet that fund was supposed to address specific issues that make those people lag behind, such as food security. So we need to start taking stock of this money that we are putting in this county government. What is it doing? What is it translating into? If I say I build a market in my ward, I build 5 markets in my ward, I need to start seeing that ward increasing in terms of generation of income, because now the markets are able to bring business to the people. The people there are supposed to do business and pay permits. Meaning, if I was collecting 10,000 a day, I should be able to say I'm collecting 50,000 in this area. And therefore, I stop relying more on the national government, because I'm able to start generating money from the money that has been put in. The same goes to the equalization fund. We need to see it's reducing, because the areas where we have put in, we have started seeing some returns. And that's the conversation we need to have. And that's why I'm excited that there are some senators who have gone to be governors, because they will now start being tasked. You have been putting money in these counties. Can we now see value of money coming from the counties that you are now serving?
Kevin, your last word. Unfortunately, we're out of time.
So my last word is basically to ask citizens, as we look forward to the swearing in of governors tomorrow. The reason why this is happening is to enhance service delivery and also public participation. So let's organize ourselves to put them to task with the manifestos that they presented, coiling that with the county integrated development planning processes and the budget processes, and ensure that we hold them to account to deliver. As we wait for the Supreme Court declaration, please continue to maintain calm and peace. Thank you.
Wakili.
I think I would also just wish Kenyans peace, and as we wait for the Supreme Court decision on the presidential election. But we would also want to encourage those who have managed to get an opportunity to be elected governors that will be sworn in tomorrow, to ensure that that is another government in itself. So let us put them to account and ensure that whatever promises and whatever development that are prioritized in terms of county integrated development plan, they ensure that that is implemented and achieved.
Thank you so much, my director, for have some few minutes.
Okay. For me, it's just to congratulate every person who has been elected. I was in a race, but I
unfortunately, you didn't mention about the party list, because at the end of the day,
yes,
it's the same thing in the county.
For example, like in Nakuru, UDA had 39 MCAs. The rest were taken by Jubilee, ODM, and Independents. So I'm expecting that the party numbers may influence the issue of speakership. But I'm also trusting that the MCAs who have been elected will interrogate everybody in their own capacity, not the capacity of the party, because parties have held us captive for many years, and we have seen parties die out with every election. And therefore, we need to start investing in parties that have an ideology that can transcend one government to the other, which is something that is still not there. But I'm hoping that some of us, if we are given the opportunity, we can be able to enrich and come up with the political parties that are able to be there between when we are here and beyond us. But in terms of my last word is to request the MCAs in Nakuru, please give us all an opportunity to discuss with you. We are going to come and lobby, but look at the person who is best fit to serve the people of Nakuru in the event that you have, say, no governor, no deputy governor, and the speaker is supposed to stand in there. Number two, look at the person who can be able to protect the interests of the county assembly and make the work of the assembly and that of the county executive much, much better than it has been the past leadership. For me, I'm best placed, and I trust people will be able to vote for me.
Osido, I would like also you to just weigh in on that issue of party list, because at the end of the day, it has been mentioned that it's just a way of rewarding cronies and friends, and sometimes they talk about other deeper things than just friendship.
Some of those deeper things you don't want to mention are girlfriends and boyfriends.
Yes.
It is the wrong framework. It's quite an unfortunate mechanism that we have. There is a reason why people are asked to join political parties, and that asking needs to be one that adds value. And so for those who sit at the decision-making platforms of political parties, let's move towards the levels of asking ourselves, what value does Kevin Osido bring when he's seated here? What value does the engineer or Wakili present when they come in as members of political parties? Otherwise, the failures that we have seen with past county assemblies and also even the 12th parliament are going to follow us in the sense that there will be no value. Look at the degree of laws which they make, and the fact that people also get nominated to parties. There is a reason why you get nominated, to be able to represent a special interest group or the weak in the society. If you are a person who does not meet those categories, the onus is also on you to just say, no, sir, Mr. Party Leader or Madam Party Leader, I think so-and-so is better placed. And so the party is not deficient of people who can actually sit in and represent. I'm actually happy with the IEBC to the extent that they rejected. There's almost 78 parties because they sent the wrong names. And so even as we talk about accountability, let the members of those political parties and by and large Kenyan citizens and voters also interrogate those parties and ask themselves, what value do these people who are nominated through the party lists actually bring to the table?
There's something that I can mention, and you all mentioned, is that the elected women.
Yeah.
We have now changed as a country. We have 7 elected women, and if my director gives me 2 minutes, I can peruse them.
Women governors.
Women governors.
There are so many women
there are so many
elected, but there are 7 women governors. Yeah.
This election cycle has witnessed a paradigm shift in the way women now take part in elections, because most of the time you find that they form bulk of the voters, but unfortunately, they have very few seats, and the youth form bulk of the campaign strategists, and even used either wrongly or in the right way. But unfortunately, they don't go to the ballot, and the men who sit aside, they end up with the seat.
The challenge we have as a country is that our politics is driven by money. So most of the time you find women don't have the money, the youth don't have the money. And therefore the men who have the money are able to manipulate the process of election. So by electing a women governor, and most exciting is the independent candidate of Meru, where she did not have the resources that the others have, but she was able to pinya hapo katikati na akakuwa the governor. So I think that is an opportunity to demonstrate that if women are given an equal platform, they can be able to win any election. And the issue of curing gender disparity through law may not be the only solution. The only way is to be able to have more and more of these women coming on board and them performing. It's very important that they perform this time, so that 2027 we can be able to build on their performance. In Nakuru, we have re-elected all the women who participated in terms of being MPs. None of them was defeated, and we have added one more. She has defeated one of the strongest men in Nakuru. Now we have around 7 leaders from Nakuru who are women, which is a very exciting moment. But the important thing, will they be able to perform? And I trust that if they are given the space, if they are given the support by the entire leadership, they will be able to perform.
Omanga, I would also want you to weigh in on the same.
I think I'm very, very much happy with the performance of our women, those who have been elected either as members of parliament, senate, women reps, and even the governors. Because at least we've seen in the past parliament, the last parliament, that there was at least an demonstration that actually when women are given an equal opportunity, then they offer the best leadership. So therefore, it should not be like they are being given an opportunity like we are rewarding you, but let us now, because it is a democratic space, we give them an equal platform, a level play field, whereby each and everyone must be able to demonstrate their abilities in terms of how best can they represent the interests of the people. So therefore, to me, I think it is something that is good, that it is happening during our time, and I believe that those who are given an opportunity would be able to perform and actually really demonstrate that they are equal to the task. So I will only wish them well and actually encourage others that when the next electoral cycle kicks in, they would be able also to venture into the political field so that they would be able to offer the leadership that our country demands.
Now, in 1 minute each, we are in new governments from tomorrow after the swearing in. And we are going to give them a scorecard after 5 years. You have been following keenly since we started Devolution. Give us a scorecard. And according to you, which is the first thing? We've discussed a lot of things. Which is the first thing that the incoming governors and their deputies should?
The scorecard probably is just for those the incumbents, those who've been re-elected.
And devolution as well.
Yes, exactly. We expect a little bit more, because now they know where the kind of gaps that they basically were unable to fill. It's another opportunity. There's a reason why they've been given another chance. So we'll be coming back to them and looking at a number of issues. In terms of the in-tray is quite heavy and bulky, because the first thing that you're going to deal with is the pending bills. We have over 550 million to the tunes of 2 billion that counties owe people, service providers and all that. So the first task and assignment is, of course, to deal with issues of pending bills and the intergovernmental relations. We are hoping that because depending on how the Supreme Court judgment goes, you know that the current deputy president, who is should I say supposedly elected president-elect, was a chair of the County Budget and Economic Council of Governors, and there are many things that are pending there, including full transfer of functions of counties. We already spoke about some of them that are still domiciled at the national level. So governors need to be able to advocate through COG and other institutions like County Governance Watch to be able to ensure that the next government fully devolves those functions, and that also follows resources. The last thing, of course, is on-source revenue. We have about 110 streams for counties to be able to generate resources. They only concentrate on 2. Actually, they only have land rates, and we have seen governors advertising on newspapers and TVs, and also cess, which is paid by those small mama bogas and the border borders. But yet, if you look at what is in the assets of counties, there is more than even the kind of resources that counties receive annually, because the projection is 174 billion per year, but yet they only get 36 billion.
Wow, sleeping giants.
Exactly.
I want to have a look at the women elected leaders, but I would want you to also a minute each as I.
Okay. For me, I'm one of those people looking forward to Susan Keheka being the first woman governor for Nakuru County. She promised to have all the health workers on a permanent and pensionable scheme. So I'm looking forward to see if she'll implement that. Nakuru is a city right now, and there are a lot of issues that she did not agree with in terms of making Nakuru a city. So now that it's a city, I'm just looking forward to how she'll be able to align herself with governing a city as opposed to what she may have wanted in terms of when she was aspiring to be a governor.
I think each and every county has their own priorities. So therefore, there is no uniformity in terms of what should be done first for those who manage to get the gubernatorial positions. Because each and every county have their own county integrated development plan that actually prioritize what are the key issues that the electorate really want to be done first in terms of priority. So I think it is only that we have to encourage our people that they must be eternally vigilant and ensure that we put to account these people that we've given an opportunity to lead.
And talking about
by
these
the way, Ben,
people, yes,
for Nairobi County, the expectations are even way too much, because the county lost almost 4 years, And Governor Sakaja has...
And we have the
huge.
fourth governor.
Exactly. So he has a huge responsibility.
Very interesting. Quite interesting.
But the good thing is that Nairobi at least has ever had a female governor.
Yes.
But looking at elected women governors, there are about 7. As you can see, the men forming the bulk of leadership in counties, that is 40 governors. But the good thing is that they have all been elected. Looking at Nakuru, Susan Kehika, he is a lawyer and a politician. She became the first female governor of the 4th city. She was, first of all, she has risen ranks from being a speaker to senator and now to governor. Because of the interest of time, allow me to go to the second one, who happens to be also a seasoned politician. Homa Bay County, Gladys Wanga has been the women representative of Homa Bay County since the year 2013 to 2017. And as you can see, the votes themselves, you can see that he was able to floor former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero, who got just slightly over 150,000 votes. The great county of Embu, county number 14, Cecily Mbarire, also a seasoned politician. She was MP-elect for Runyenjes, then became nominated MP, and now she is the Embu County MP. For those two, yes, Embu County Governor. And for those two, UDA, Homa Bay, ODM. Let's go to another one, Machakos, Honorable Avinya Ndeti. She garnered 226,000 votes and became the county governor. Wow, Kwale, Honorable Fatuma Achani. She was a deputy governor of Kwale County. She has just transited for the last 10 years. Was a good student, if you ask me, guys. And she actually beat a number of seasoned politicians, Professor Amadi Boga, Wipers, Chirao Ali Makwere. We also had Dena of Kanu. We also had Mangale of Pa, which is also making inroads in the coastal region. And apologies, this is not Kiambu, this is an error. This is Meru County. Kawira Mwangaza, also a seasoned politician. She was a women MP for that county, and she floored political titans, if you ask me, Governor Kiraito Muronge and also Senator Mithika Linturi to emerge the victor. But she was independent. She didn't want any party politics. Kirinyaga County, of course, she's serving her second and final term. She used to be a CS, and also she was able to floor seasoned politicians and also the county women representative. Those are some of the elected women leaders. Maybe Mombasa and Kakamega, we might end up seeing a woman governor. Thank you indeed, gentlemen.
Yes. The top contenders are males.
Unfortunately. Yeah. But it's a good start. It's a good start. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Bentroy Njue, and I have been having a host of panelists here, beginning from my immediate left, Kevin Osido, who is the Executive Director of the County Governance Watch. They have been keeping a keen eye on devolution for the past, 10 years?
Precisely.
And we have engineer Crispus Wadimba. Okay, that's a good one. He is seeking the third most powerful seat in Nakuru County. That is the county speaker. He is an engineer by profession and also a project consultant when it comes to matters engineering, right?
Yes.
And we have Wakili, advocate of the High Court and also a leadership and governance expert, Charles Omanga. We've been having a lot to talk about when it comes to court in regards to the petition. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Bentroy Njue. Thank you so much for watching. Let's continue this conversation on social media. Remember, the 45 governors and their deputies being sworn in tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. as enshrined in law, and we'll be keeping a very keen eye and also lens for that, so keep it KBC. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.
Gentlemen,
thank you so much.
is by taking your eyes from you to give to her.
You'll marry her in heaven?
Right. I want the whole world to know that she's my wife.
Lady Loria, I'm begging you. Please don't take me from Florissa Court. Please don't.
Even if you speak up for me, no one will believe us. Not even Genova believes.
Ni kweli. Bosi mtoto mimi sijamuona tangu jana.
Maana yeye ndo babake na mamake. Au mtawakumadokta.
Siku zote wewe ndo wampeleka shuleni. Mbona leo?
Sasa pia tutabishana kwa sababu ya hili.
Badi, hebu toka humu ndani ama ni uvunje mlango. Wataka kufa yeye kwa njaa? Put him down. Smart. Nilifikiria swali la kwanza tunauliza ni nimeingiaje ndani. I see. Put him down.
Girls can't settle down till me get my herbs to burn. We just can't get her down until me get my collie to burn. She don't call anymore, 'cause I'm so fucking by you. And you found somebody first, the curse to where it's coming from. Turn it back as fast as you can.
For the past 2 weeks, the athletes of Major League Wrestling and the luchadors of AAA have competed in heavy-hitting fights. Oh my God! High-flying encounters, bloody brawls, Ortiz, oh my God! And title fights. As we enter Week 3 of the historic first-ever Super Series, both leagues are tied at 2 wins apiece. The unstoppable Jacob Fatu of Contra. Who the hell is going to pry the championship away from the Samoan Smashing Machine?